What highly illegal thing took place at your high school? Some girl brought cupcakes made with CM, called them cumcakes, proceeded to ask everyone in class if they wanted one. High school coach didn't keep tabs on our team during a week-long beach trip to play games in Florida. Parents supplied kids with alcohol. One of my teammates snaps his neck diving into the ocean. Coach fired. Kid paralyzed. Literal chaos within our baseball program ensued. It was awful. I transferred. Not sure if illegal, but a girl smeared her own crap all over the bathroom walls and mirrors. Could this count as vandalism? Spanish teacher got arrested for illegally bringing over a 14-year-old Argentinian girl and keeping her as a hetzel. But since she was here illegally and wouldn't testify against him, she was deported and he came back to school later in the year. Come to find out, a couple of years later he had molested like half of the girls' volleyball team he was the coach of. My senior year, one of my friends was murdered by her boyfriend and he drove around with her body in the trunk for a couple of hours. Also, a couple of kids got caught giving each other piercings in the stairwells. There were 4 freshmen in the bathroom stall just vaping and a teacher came in, so they freaked out and didn't want to get in trouble, so they thought calling the cops on the teacher for harassment would get them out of trouble. They got expelled an hour after the cops arrived. We had a science teacher say, if you don't put goggles on, I'm going to have to spray you in the eyes with Lysol, which was probably not illegal until the student tried to call her bluff. She wasn't bluffing. This was middle school, but our computer teacher was fired after they caught him watching pee in the computer lab during lunch. Rumor has it, he was watching on the big projector screen they use for teaching. My gym teacher, originally a health ed teacher, got caught twice doing that and jerking it. All they did was turn him into the gym teacher, then made him back into the health teacher. The cool gang of kids, not me, I've never been anywhere near cool, got into a dare contest which ended up with one of them having to get a pair of knickers from a particular girl. She didn't want to play the game, so he ended up cornering her in a boys' toilet and cutting them off her with a knife. We never saw him at the school again. All games were banned. A teacher was caught getting physically intimate with an autistic student. I believe the student claimed to have loved her. Her dad was also a teacher at the same school and he left after the incident came out. This happened at my school too. Little bit of backstory first. Our school had a big renovation ongoing, and because of that, almost half of the school was closed down. The closed part included the biggest bathrooms, and because of that, the school administration ordered 2 toilet barracks to be placed on the schoolyard. So, some 7 9th graders decided to buy some toilet pipe opener liquid, I don't know what is the correct term, and aluminium foil. They put the aluminium foil inside some plastic bottles and poured a little pipe opener in them with the foil. As someone has probably done this before, knows what is going to happen next. They stuck 6 bottles total inside the toilet bowls in every stall of one barrack and blew them up due to the chemical reaction between the foil and the opener. All the pipings of the single barrack were destroyed due to water pressure inside the pipes. Turns out that the 2 barracks had connected pipings and the water that was in the bowls in the other barrack shot up to the ceiling due to pressure. The students never got caught, and if I remember correctly, the incident ended up costing a hefty amount for the school administration. The barracks were taken away and were replaced with new ones. After the incident, every recess there was a teacher in front on the barracks monitoring everyone going in and out. Nothing happened to the new toilets. Pre-internet days kinda. CDs were a thing. I had a massive CD collection in a gigantic book in my locker. I typed up lists of all the artists and albums I owned. So I had these flyers everywhere, and for $3 a CD would burn you a copy. This was right when CD burners came out, and my stepdad was super into the latest and greatest tech, so we had the cool gadgets when they came out. I eventually was caught, but for a time I made killer money. A special ed kid got jumped by a dude on his way to school and was beaten bloody. The whole thing was recorded by the guy's girlfriend and her friend. The whole time they were cheering him on, yelling things like world star and so on. She later posted it on Instagram, which pissed off everyone, and just about everyone wanted to beat the dude up in the vid. He was given temporary suspension. Freaking BS. While the police took care of him. From what I know, he was given an assault charge. Also, side note, there was a girl at my school who was in minor league boxing who was ready to beat him up. She even tried looking for him by his house. Had this happen at my school too, the guy just didn't wind up so lucky and had the balls to come to school. His face was pretty broken afterwards. Our football coach took off with one of the girls in the high school and moved to Mexico and married her. He had a wife and kids. They then hired a brand new football coach who was 23 years old. Before the end of his first year, he was hooking up with an 18-year-old senior girl. They also took off and went somewhere. We went without a coach for a couple years. My teacher was molesting my 14-year-old classmate for a while. He went to jail and is still there 20 years later because another past victim came forward. So that's pretty illegal. One of the old teacher's aides got arrested for child pee and filming the elementary kids' bathroom. Elementary kids. Some people are so messed up, man. Drama teacher slept with the hottest chicks in class and nothing ever happened to him. Chili pee filming. 2 underage seniors from my graduating class filmed a full-on porno with some 20-year-old dude. Circulated to like 30 kids in the class and was a huge scandal for the school for a while. One of them was expelled while the other was just given a suspension cause she otherwise had a clean record and was on one of the sports teams. Not sure if they ever found the dude. Not my school, but friends. 2 students threw a chair from a balcony. They've hit an 8-month pregnant teacher. She passed out. The principal refused to let an ambulance evacuate her from school grounds because it'd tatter their school's reputation. So she has had the custodian drag the unconscious bleeding pregnant teacher out of the school, and only then she called the ambulance. The teacher has had a stillbirth consequently to that incident. 2 kids were making love in the toilets a few years ago and other 2 kids burned a desk inside the class. Grew up in a small town. When a lamb got sick and was dying, our ag teacher just had us go out behind the classroom building and shoot it. We ended up pulling a massive tapeworm out of it. Definitely not legal to have guns on campus, let alone use them. We slaughtered and butchered a hog with a massive hernia, mind you, big skin pouch full of innards hanging down, on school grounds for an ag class once. It was an anatomy lesson and a meats lesson in one. I went to an incredibly crappy school in London that was in special measures by the time I left at 18 after a year with about 50% attendance and 3 U grades at A level. It is apparently doing fairly well now since it has been amalgamated into the fold of a local superhead who runs several schools across the surrounding boroughs. But I will paste what I shared last time since people seemed to like it then. We had men dog hammer fight in my first week. Rush day. 1 day per year the kids in your 7 would just get random beats. A couple of stabbings year. Kid locked the woodwork teacher in the toilets. Woodwork teacher kicked the door off its hinges and set about the kid the very same way. Someone stole all the computers from the computer room. Kid was stripped and all his clothes and belongings were doused in lighter fluid and burned. Head teacher left for lunch one day and never came back. Our only person making the timetables was the admin business teacher. Died of a heart attack during a class. Starting the following year, no classes were organized for 2 months graduation year A2. To boot, still received weekly notices about attendance during that period. History teacher got pregnant by another teacher. Conception apparently on site. They weren't in a relationship. Someone started a rumor that she was violated and he was also a pedophile. He had to leave the school. Superhead brought in to get us shipshape. Known for taking no crap and turning schools around. Made her quit her entire decades-long career. Couldn't hire new teachers. Woodworking debt was abandoned after previous incident. Kid trapped another kid in there with a mind to reenact some hostile crap and tried to slice his femoral artery with a sharpened file. This is some Bullworth Academy crap right here. A teacher and an administrator embezzled millions. I didn't even know all this happened until years after graduation. Some of my friends had the teacher in question. Female freshmen would hang out in a teacher's classroom almost every day after school. People thought he was just a club sponsor and that she was very involved. A few weeks into the semester they were caught by police in an Airbnb and he was arrested. A teacher bonded like 12 students. The issue is everybody loved that guy. He won Best Teacher award like 2 days before his arrest. P.S. No, this isn't Persona 5, this actually did happen. I'm not making a clever joke about Kamoshida, although I probably would have. This was a real guy, one Mr. Chu. Had a pretty controversial case involving a handicapped student who had cerebral palsy and muscular dystrophy. His parents filed a lawsuit accusing 2 of his handlers of abusing him by dumping him out of his chair and forcing him to wear a neck brace so he'd look them in the eye. Worst part was I don't think the handlers suffered any consequences. I looked up articles on it and all of them highlight the abuse and lawsuit, but none follow through with the results, which is frustrating. Had a guy selling H. After that there was a weekly police presence. Also, a kid bound a girl to a chair, gagged her and stuffed her in a cupboard in the woodworking shop. He claims it was to help her complete the sponsored silence she had been doing that day. Kids were selling candy and snacks to other students, obliterating the monopoly that the vending machines once held. Administration cut that crap out real quick. My school tried stamping that out. When they realized that was infeasible, they instead started a market in the small gym during lunch. Charged a $5 a day for a table. One of my friends made a couple of grand from running a table for a year. Playing unblocked games. My golf coach got arrested in Kansas for driving with a spare tire full of C. Half my school burned down because some idiot thought it would be a good idea to light a wrestling mat on fire. Pro tip: wrestling mats are very flammable. Weren't able to have sports all year. Talent shows and concerts in the auditorium. Benefit was we got 2 weeks off from school while they vented cleaned up the mess. All I can remember was the kid was a minor, so the parents pretty much owed millions to the school. Update: just googled the kid's name and found out he died a year later in a car accident near the school he transferred to, because he was expelled obviously. Over spring break one year, the entire hockey team and the cheerleaders all went to rehab. The goalie was dealing coke to all of them. Basketball coach was fricking players' parents. When faculty and authorities started looking into the situation, they found that he was also posting in the classified ads as a prostitute. The cheerleaders got caught selling morphine. The football team got into a brawl with a rival school at a local pizza place over said morphine scandal. A huge fiasco over a kid putting baking soda and vinegar in a test tube and sealing it and taping it under a lunch table till it exploded. The principal was fricking students. A few years after I graduated, some parents found out and took him to court. He hanged himself before he could be convicted. My history teacher had physical intimacy with a 15-year-old girl, but she didn't admit it for at least a decade. He was a good teacher and I liked his class, but he's gonna rot in jail for the rest of his life. The middle school gym teacher who inappropriately touched lots of preteen girls, who promptly told on him, got the teensiest slap on the wrist, and that was that. Probably the pedo cult masked as a NAAA group that met in the basement somewhat regularly. This year the fire alarm's gone off twice BC of kids smoking weed in the bathroom. Freshmen vape in plain view of teachers and no one cares. Someone got shot during an after-school choreo a couple months ago. Knew a guy that sold C in class and tried to offer a girl pot to sleep with him. There was also some public stickum in one of the halls that led to a girl starving herself until she miscarried. A good friend of my dorky group brought contraband Russian vodka to high school all the time. He ran a scam selling fake web hosting, and once got into real trouble for making one of these shock websites, a Lagotsi, with malicious code in it that forced you to physically restart the computer if you wanted out of it. Yes. He got into trouble because he made another kid's name appear on it, implying he was the guy being featured in the shocking nudies. Other than that, my high school only had the usual things: Greek dealers, thieves, and a certain teacher that tried to coerce girls into giving him floozy in exchange of grades, and failing miserably. A terrorist bomb exploded just in front of our school when I was in middle school. We were studying when it happened. There was a big smoke. Glasses were shattered. Everybody rushed outside as soon as they heard the explosion. I just stood dumbstruck in my seat for a full 10 seconds before being able to move. Years later, this is still the most overwhelming experience in my life. Not highly illegal, but not legal either. I figured out how to make fake IDs in my home darkroom and showed a friend how to do it. This was in the early 70s, before Photoshop, when analog darkrooms and chemical-based photography were the only option. He went into production in the school darkroom. His quality sucked. He got caught. My quality was excellent, but I only made one for me. In the late 70s, my mom pretended to be her older friend who had lost her id so she could get a legit fake. Said friend then went in weeks later because she lost her id so that the picture on the record would actually be right. I'm impressed you made your own. The principal hired a bunch of students to sell steroids at the local gym. Same principal gave the same students a list of kids who were questioning their vital with the counselor. Before XRs were a thing, and they all had their lockers bashed in with a baseball bat. One of the kids had his parents notified and was beat within an inch of his life. Our teacher used to hotbox her classroom and then use the kiln fan to pull all the smoke out. Typical art teacher there, no surprise. Someone took a crap on the floor during a strike. Kid got together with all his friends and got nudes of girls from school, all underage, and burned a DVD with all the pics and started selling it. Well, the principal found out and instead of turning it over to the police he got a copy and was caught jerking off to it in his office. School swept it under the rug and he used some kind of clause in his contract basically saying they couldn't legally say anything about it. But he got quietly retired and they got a new principal. This happened after I had got out of school and we used to always joke that he was a pedophile. Crazy crap. A bunch of the guys had a fight club. It had been going on for years, no face hits, and there was a 18 and 18 group, so if they got caught nobody got assault on a minor charges. It was actually really well planned and had been going on for years. Until one dumbass junior broke the first rule of Fight Club and posted a video. A bunch of kids got suspended. I think a couple of the seniors got probation or deferment. Man, that's just frickin' horrible. Murder. A kid in the grade ahead of me murdered his sister behind the high school. An acquaintance of mine helped him bury the body. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.